Well, hi guys, can you hear me?
We sure can. Well, welcome to the Jazz Cabbage Cafe, Brianna DiSalvio. Brianna's a cannabis legal group paralegal who started her career at Howard & Howard Law Firm, where she assisted attorneys and paralegals, earned a Bachelor of Arts degree from Hope College, and her paralegal from Oakland Community College. She recently wrote an article in the Cannabis Law Journal called Diversity in the Cannabis Industry, Working Towards Equal Access and Opportunity. Brianna DiSalvio, welcome to Jazz Cabbage.
Thank you for having me.
What was your incentive to write this article for the Cannabis Law Journal?
You know, I think just it felt like the right thing to write about and research a little bit more. Just with the current events and the Black Lives Matter movement really trying to gain momentum and bring attention to a lot of the systemic issues and racial tensions currently, and that have obviously been going on for a long time, and kind of bring light to that, and also some of the recent changes with the cannabis industry, and trying to bridge that gap in the cannabis industry and allowing more opportunities for people who have been impacted greatly by these systemic issues. So I felt it was important to write about and, kind of touch upon, just our experiences here at the Cannabis Legal Group with that.
I'd like to share with our listeners and our viewers a couple of the stats that you included in your article. And these originate from the Marijuana Business Daily's 2017 chart, which is an interesting thing that they do. As you can see, 81% of marijuana business owners or founders were white, with 5.7 as identifying as Hispanic and Latino, 4.3 as African American, and 2.4 identifying as Asian. Although those statistics may be 3 years old, that's still a pretty good snapshot of our community at large, especially here in Michigan. You're with the Cannabis Legal Group, so you talk to all kinds of people. You think those numbers are pretty reflective of what we have here in the Great Lakes State?
Yeah, I do. And I think, I touched upon it briefly in the article, but one of the biggest issues I think is in terms of the cost. It's not an even playing field, and it definitely is a barrier. And that's, a lot of what the, social equity plan touches upon, is trying to give people those opportunities that maybe don't have, the finances or aren't connected to the wealthy investors that others might be.
Access to generational capital, access to real estate and personal property that typically are not seen as prevalent in the African-American community.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. You also mentioned African-Americans being 4 times more likely than whites to be arrested for marijuana possession historically. That's true of persons of color, regardless of their ethnicity. What have you seen here in Michigan as far as efforts to sort of reverse that trend, or at least to accentuate our cannabis industry as having some of those representatives in higher positions of power?
Yeah, there are changes trying to be made in terms of, legislation and with expungement. I touched upon I think it's the Michigan Clean Slate Act. Nothing has been, the bill hasn't gone through yet in its entirety, but it is something that is in the works, and it would expunge those lower marijuana crimes and get those off the record, because they're, that is something that can disqualify you as having, a criminal record.
The Cannabis Legal Group in Royal Oak, just right down the street from where we're at here in Redford. We've had Barton on the show many times. Do you have any clients of the firm that you really think are doing an exceptional job at diversity or social justice and equity that you'd like to call out and give credit to?
Any particular clients?
Yes.
Yeah, one particular client group, Nature's Medicines. They have developed, you know, with all of their applications, you know, they have social equity plans in place, and they're really trying to have strategic partnerships with, you know, diverse populations in terms of vendors and people that, you know, they are that's going to supply them. So really trying to make those efforts.
We're really looking for success stories in Michigan that we can point to so that we can show people what it looks like to be maybe more racially sensitive or perhaps more ethnically diverse in the workforce.
Yeah, and I think that that's also to touch upon that it is a requirement now with the adult use application that every applicant has a social equity plan in place. So it's not just going to be one or two, it will be a requirement for any person that's looking to get into that industry.
Well, although that's true, Brianna, isn't it also true that that's left very vague and that each individual company can decide what their own social equity strategy might be? And some of them are more superficial and ineffective than others because certain people's hearts are not behind it. Wouldn't that be fair to say?
Yeah, that would be fair to say. I think, you know, with all of our clients, you know, when we're developing those social equity plans, we encourage them to think about something that's not just going to be, you know, verbiage on paper, that it is going to be something that they will be implementing, even if it's something as, you know, simple as, you know, having always having resources available or doing some type of outreach, making it something tangible and then, you know, that is realistic that they will, you know, implement.
Brianna, I appreciate you joining us here on Jazz Cabbage today. Our segment is nearing an end. Can you tell us how to reach out to you at Cannabis Legal Group if people would like to follow up?
Yes, you can send me an email, which is Brianna, BRIANNA at cannabislegalgroup.com. You can always send me an email there, or you can give me a call at the office, which is 248-541-2600.
Brianna, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for authoring such a well-researched article on the subject.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Have a great day.
You too.